Okay, what's up, y'all? Down here on the ground, I understand it's partially sunny, partially shady. I also understand more than you might about my current situation temperature-wise. It's like 98 degrees Fahrenheit here in the state of Utah, the United States of America, where we are based as In The Image Clothing Company. So, welcome. My name is Evan Strong, the founder and leader for life of In The Image Clothing Company. This is a video under our main side, one of the 4 sides to us, where our slogan is allowing the body to work. This video's title is actually what I'm doing right here with my feet. Pivoting on the feet heels. Okay. We're going to talk about this because we're only a clothing company under In The Image Clothing Company to do what our slogan here is, or is here under our main side, one of our 4ths. Which is allowing the body to work, okay? Allowing the body to work. Why are we a clothing company? How does this make any sense? Why do we really only talk about the human body and clothing is a secondary thing? Meaning, clothing is the only thing physically placed on us. I feel weird because of this location, because of like the shading and stuff, but we'll get into this. Literal wording of clothing. Anything we place onto our bodies. God clothes the fields with grass, as it says in the Holy Bible. We are designed in the image of God, in the image of Jesus Christ. Here's your clothing company. Because the human being is just measurable mathematical degrees of hinges, levers, and rotations, determined by the shape and length of our own individual bones. There truly is no possible opinion to there only being one way the human body could ever possibly physically, mechanically operate. The bones grow by themselves, and then they're only the shape and length that they are. Once we're full grown, that's how our bodies will be forever, okay? And, yeah. The bones connect directly to each other through ligaments, and so with the bones just being very specifically shaped on the ends and the length is just very specific, they can only mesh just if they can mesh. There's only one way the bones connect together, just like looking at the knuckles of the hands, for example. There's only one way this happens, and so placing clothing on our bodies, it can damage our bodies big time. Let me talk about a few things, imbalances in modern day, and especially in modern 2026 and going forth with the technology we have, and clothing imbalances shipped across the entire earth. Fairly universal imbalances shipped across the whole earth on this universal human design with the same ligaments, tendons, muscles, and bones, organs, and just functioning. If you're a man or a woman, tall or short, skinny or fat, any age, any part of the earth, or any time period to ever be, you're just a human being, okay? But damage, right? Oversized clothing will damage the body because clothing has to fit. We have things like this happening, joints of material of clothing meshing with joints of body parts. And if it's just not happening to where these things can allow the body to work, these things being anything physically placed onto us, we could call the literal word of clothing. Hats, gloves, shoes, pants, socks, tops, undergarments, jewelry. Okay. If I take this stick here and I put it on the back of my head, just to show what I really mean by this, seriously, I'm clothing my head with that stick. Something placed on us at all. Well, gravity, it's got the same effect on our clothing that it has on our bodies. And we're just doing everything in life in and through our clothing, the literal wording of anything physically placed on us. So, yeah, oversized clothing damages the body because there is a neutral position to the entire human being. The shoulders are one of the things that is a part of the entire human being, okay? The shoulders come up or down. An upper, middle, and lower trapezius muscle on the back. There's a middle, there's a neutral. The wrist comes up or down. The middle is just how the finger bones track in line, clear from the elbow to the fingertips, but really clear from the shoulder to the fingertips. When we straighten the elbow between the hand and shoulder, it all does the same thing. Okay, the entire arm. Rotations, internal rotation or external rotation, but everywhere the hand goes, the shoulder goes. There's some context. We discussed the anatomy of the human body in depth here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. We really are only a clothing company to allow the body to work. So yeah, oversized clothing, one of those imbalances, it'll damage your body. Okay. Patterning gets built up in the body. Chronic patterning, where scar tissue builds and bone spurs build, because things can only possibly track in line when it comes to bones just being essentially immovable sticks by themselves that only can move where they join to another, essentially just another stick. The joints of material of clothing meshing with the joints of body parts, these joints of bones are the only location the body can move in. It only does what it does. There truly is mathematically, measurably, only one way the human being could ever possibly physically work, mechanically operate. It's just a mechanical machine placed onto this rock in space that is our Earth. Universal laws like gravity and physics of any form you want to say, just how things work when it comes to physical functioning. These things are outside of all of us, right? The human being can only do what it does. Oversized clothing is an imbalance that doesn't allow that to happen. Now, we've also got a lot of other things, but some of them are pockets, zippers, buttons, rotating seams, collar seams. You know, with robots stitching our clothing in modern 2026, it didn't happen just tens of years ago from today's date because we didn't have the technology for it too. But anything, just different, discrepant, anywhere left, right, front, or back on clothing will damage the body. Shoelaces, drawstrings, anything that you could call a rope, or anything you could just tie one side over the other on or around the body in any way, you will twist the entire human being. Internal rotation on one side, external rotation on the other, and vice versa if, right, just meaning you put a rope around your waist and twist your whole waist. It goes down to the tips of your toes, and up to the tips of your fingers, and out to the tip of your head, because the whole body is connected. It's all a kinetic chain. It's all there. Okay, it's just bone to 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 bone. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Okay, truly, like truly. So the thing is, zero drop, the term in any brand of shoe. Look at my foot. It's inside of a shoe. I'll say, just for context, these are pretty narrow shoes, not the most ideal. You don't want to be pinching your toes, okay? But flat on the bottom is how the feet work because there's a horizontal surface to the planet Earth. This is the neutral from the feet lifting up, dorsiflexion, or pointing down. Plantar flexion. Shout out to the train. Seriously, I like that. The surrounding sounds get me, you know. Trying to have a relatively quiet video, but that train horn, it's pretty far away and it's cool. It's kind of like a call. I like that. I mean it. That's sweet. So yeah, the feet are flat on the ground in their neutral. Here's the wind. Right when I say that, dude, I couldn't make it up. Start talking about the surrounding sounds and the wind picks up. Oh my goodness. If we have heels on our shoes, we've got man-made shoes with heels, an elevation to the rear of the foot. Oh, here's our visual for the video that I didn't expect to have here. It's a piece of wood, right? You've got a heel under your shoe, just the slightest bit of elevation to the sole of the shoe on the heel. Now you're pointing your toes, right? Plantar flexion, or pointing the toes. You're constantly pointing your toes a little bit with a heel under your shoe, a man-made shoe with a heel under it, under your God-made foot heel. The body just grows by itself. God designed the earth. He then designed the human being to place onto the planet Earth. Being designed in the image of God, there's only one way these things will always just mesh together, because the vertical pull to gravity comes down and meshes with the horizontal surface of the planet Earth, which that is the term zero drop in any brand of shoe. That's just horizontal. It's just the ground. Really, it's a perpendicular angle, okay? Gravity coming down to mesh with the horizontal surface of the Earth. It's a 90-degree right angle, perpendicular, okay? There's only one way it happens. The thing is, you know, a lot of people don't know how to get to the bottom of why bodies of human beings, and we can say it like this: everybody who has one, or everyone who has a body, is who our information applies to here under In the Image Clothing Company. But a lot of people don't understand why people are having what they could call posture problems and just chronic pain and imbalances and misalignments in their bodies. Well, these are the things that we don't know if we don't know. Like just needing to not elevate the heel of our foot. It never would be elevated unless we made a man-made product called a shoe with a heel under it, right? And so we've got so many videos talking about the feet, talking about shoelaces, In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique, just the only way the top of the feet are shaped. You can see it in this video, but you can find it wherever you find it under our 5-word company name, In the Image Clothing Company, with a detailed how-to, okay? How to weave a rope across the top of your feet the only way the bones are shaped. We've got feet evenly opposing the center line of the human being below the hips, gripping arches inward, and that's what keeps us vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull. We have different length 5 toes that we roll evenly off the end of within this universal human design, just to share the weight. That's why there are 5 toes, so they can evenly work together. Just like we have even 4 fingers that mesh around our different length opposable thumb, right? These different length 4 fingers. There's only one way the human body could ever work. The hand is always round, the open palm, and internal rotation, if you will. A video's title here, under In the Image Clothing Company's main site currently, as of the 14th of July 2026, today's date. But the feet are also round. There's these arches to the bottom of the feet. There's actually a tripod, multiple different arches happening that support our bodies, right? From the feet first at our foundation, traveling up through the rest of the human being to the tip of the head and the tips of the fingers. The feet have to come first. So, anyway, zero drop. I mean, that's one of the biggest focuses with shoes. You know, I mean, there's a lot of things we discuss with shoes, you know, the importance of the proper height shoe and shoe material, you know, removing any tongue tabs from shoes that just hold the tongue in place and restrict the motion of the feet, and change the angle of the foot as well. You know, but anyway, what I'm saying is, this video's title, on the 14th of July 2026, under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here, is pivoting on the feet heels. Look at me pivot on my feet heels. All right, I talk about this. We discuss this as In the Image Clothing Company. Me being the founder and leader for life. My name is Evan Strong. You know, the feet always just reside straight down from the upper legs. The heel of the foot is the bottom of the leg, and the top of the upper leg coming up into the hips is the top of the whole leg. And so if we just have our feet evenly spaced apart from where the top of the leg bones, at the top of the femur, the upper leg bone, this femoral head comes up and in toward the center line of the body a little bit, connecting into the hips, okay? The femoral head of the upper leg bone into the acetabulum of the hip. And this is where the motion comes from for the legs, the internal and external rotation in the legs, stemming from that neutral, which is the pinky toe straight forward. Okay, rolling off the ends of our different length 5 toes within this universal human design. Just how the pinky finger straight forward, or straight out, if you will, from the outside of the forearm. Okay, we've got internal rotation, external rotation, dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, pronation, supination in the foot. Okay, now that's some of the functioning of the feet. That's most of the functioning, like how you'd explain it, terminology, what's happening in the feet, and it's all working together. But here's a big point. Okay, we have now this straight line from the top of the upper leg bones, the femoral head, down to the heel of the foot. If the heels of the feet are evenly spaced apart from the top of the upper leg bones meeting into the hips, right? So just a hip width distance from the heel of the feet up to the hips, right? Evenly spaced apart at the feet. So here's the thing. There's a video here under In The Image Clothing Company's main site currently titled, "You can only adduct or abduct from the neutral." And the entire body has a neutral position, okay? The wrist coming up or down stems at the neutral. The foot coming up or down stems at the neutral. Zero drop, the term in any brand of shoe. The flat horizontal surface of the planet Earth, it's always there before you could possibly go up a hill or down a hill, okay? Neutral. Physics, gravity. Okay, there's only one way the human body could ever work. In the Image Clothing Company's main site here, the 14th of July, 2026, pivoting on the feet heels. Well, what I'm saying is, yeah, you can only bring the leg in across the body, adduction, or out away from the body, abduction, if you first start in the neutral position, right? There's always a neutral to everything in the human being. That's how it functions. That's how we stabilize, is both sides of functions pull at the musculature, opposing the neutral or the centered position. And that's how we stay, you know, even just standing up or sitting up on Earth's vertical gravity pull, is there's two sides and we're stabilizing in between. Okay, so we stabilize between adduction and abduction, bringing the leg in or bringing the leg out by just being in the neutral, because this is straight down on Earth's vertical gravity pull, or straight up, if you will, from the heel of the foot up to the top of the upper leg bone where it meets the hip, the femoral head into the acetabulum of the hip. So anyway, In The Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique is the top of the feet, the only way the top of the feet are shaped. When we're lifting our shoe up off the ground every step we take with the top of the foot, which is entirely determined by the weave of the rope we call a shoelace. Okay, no opinion to it. In The Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique, it's physics. But the bottom of the feet is the term zero drop in any brand of shoe. Half of the foot's function is stepping down onto the ground every time we walk, which is determined by the sole of the shoe entirely. Okay, so just flat on the bottom. Zero drop. I've said it a lot in this video. Zero drop, the term in any brand of shoe. Flat on the bottom of your shoe sole. Because the Earth is flat. Well, the Earth is a globe, but you know, the surface of it's horizontal, flat. So here's the thing, okay? We need some texture on the bottom of the feet to grip those arches inward, just how the hands grip. The feet really grip. There's a video here under In The Image Clothing Company's main site currently titled "The Toes Really Grip." So good nails on the toes and the fingers, clear to the very tips of the fingertips and the toes, cut relatively flat on the tips to stay in that neutral position. But we need full support for the toes, okay? Even through the wind noise. I'm tucked up here against a wall, next to this fence, behind this tree, to try to get away from the wind noise. It's a constant battle, sometimes. Constantly on an occasion. Wow. Okay, so the feet just straight down from the hips straight up from the feet. In this position, we're in the neutral. From the leg coming in, adduction, or the leg going out, abduction. But we're also in the neutral from the entire leg, rotating inward, internal rotation, or rotating outward. External rotation, internal rotation, external rotation. There's rotations in the entire leg. Okay, from the foot up to the hip, starting straight from the heel though, straight down. From the top of the upper leg bone at the hip, we've got the heel of the foot. Now we can rotate internally or externally, okay? But internally or externally with our rotation of the entire leg has to start from the neutral, which is the pinky toe straight forward. There's a video here under In The Image Clothing Company's main site currently as of the 14th of July, 2026, titled "The Pinky Toes and the Pinky Fingers." As I was saying, they are both the neutral, okay, for the leg. The pinky toes neutral. And for the arm, the pinky finger's neutral. Okay. It's mechanics. There's a universal human design. So what we have is, yeah, it's just physics. This pivoting happening, right? This video's title on the 7th month of 2026. It's the 14th day of that month. Yes. Okay. The 14th of July, 2026, today's date. In the Image Clothing Company's main site here. Pivoting on the heel of the feet. On the heels of the feet. Pivoting. Look at me. I'm pivoting on the heel of my foot. I couldn't pivot anywhere else. On the lever of the foot, off the hinge of the ankle. Hinge of the ankle, lever of the foot. Mechanical machine. This human being, it only is what it is. It's determined by the bones, shape, and length that grow by themselves. The hinge of the ankle in this universal human design moves the lever of the foot. But you can only pivot anywhere across this whole lever of the foot while keeping the whole leg still straight, right? At the heel of the foot. I'm kind of off to the side because I'm going to show it like this. The heel of the foot is where we pivot, okay? Now imagine having a heel under your foot. Heel on a man-made shoe heel. There's not going to be pivoting happening here unless you can get the heel of your foot to have nice pressure onto the ground. Well, because the legs are only the length that they are. And so, I mean, like, picture it like this. If I'm sitting like this and I'm pivoting on my heels, okay? This video's title, on the 14th of July, 2026, under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here, pivoting on the heel of the feet. Okay, on the heels of the feet. If I had a heel on my shoe and I didn't have the term zero drop, which is in any brand of shoe, just meaning flat on the bottom, like the horizontal surface of the planet Earth. But let's say I did have a heel under one of my feet. Well, my body's just imbalanced. Okay, now if I try to pivot on the heels of my feet, okay, this video's title, pivoting on the heels of the feet, on the 14th of July, 2026, under In the Image Clothing Company's main site. But yeah, if I had a heel on my man-made shoe, under my God-made foot heel, I'm not going to really be pivoting because my heel's not actually supported on the ground, okay? Put the heel under there, like a heel on a shoe, and it's just not the same as just pivoting on the ground. So this video's title, oh shoot, on the 14th of July, 2026, under In the Image Clothing Company's main site, is pivoting on the heels of the feet. The thing is, if I'm sitting like this, I've got to have my heels on the ground so that I can have pressure on the ground, and then from here I can just pivot with my lower legs, from the foot up to the knee joint, and these two bones in the lower leg, the tibia and the fibula, they're just like the two bones in the forearm, from the hand up to the elbow, the radius and the ulna. These are bones that just pivot and rotate over each other, and they can only ever do what they do. They always stem from a neutral, and then there's internal rotation and external rotation. Just determined by the shape and length of the bones, they can only go as far as they can until they hit into each other. Internal rotation and external rotation, starting from that neutral, the pinky toe straight forward. Did I mention this video's title? I know I did, but it is the 14th of July, 2026, and this is In the Image Clothing Company's main site. And this video's title is pivoting on the heels of the feet. Okay, so yeah, in the lower leg bones, there's these two that pivot, okay? Well, yeah, there are two lower leg bones that rotate over each other. But when we're pivoting on the heel of the foot. I mean, you're not going to be able to pivot anywhere else on the lever of the foot off the hinge of the ankle besides just straight down from the leg, which is at the heel, like this, right? So another point with this is if we have not even just heels on the shoes, like elevating the feet, right, in a man-made shoe with a heel under the God-made heel of our God-made foot. You know, let's say we don't even have that, which is great because now we can pivot, because the horizontal surface of the earth is how God designed the feet to work when he designed the feet, because he also designed the horizontal surface of the planet Earth. Okay, that is just there. Now, I love it. I love it so much. What we have is love for Jesus Christ. If you're me, Evan Strong, the founder and leader for life of In the Image Clothing Company. But also, yeah, you know, we can have heels of our shoes that just kind of stick off the back, but you need this straight line down the back of your leg. I mean, look, even though my legs are just resting on the ground, I can still straighten my knees even more. And just the musculature on the rear of my lower leg, just because where it is and how it's connected into the knee joint and then down to the heel of the foot, right? Those calf muscles. Yeah, I can still lift my feet up just by straightening my knees even more than just resting them on the ground like this. Watch this. But if you have a heel on your shoe that's just kind of like sticking off the back and not just like nice and flat, right, down the rear of your lower leg, then, right, let's say that's only on my right foot here. Well, I can't really even straighten my leg and do it naturally, meaning actually what'll happen is my leg will just be excessively straight in a position like this. So my left leg I can straighten even more, which means that it's not constantly like locked out at the knee bones. This video's title, on the 14th of July 2026, under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, pivoting on the heels of the feet. Well, yeah, if you've got a heel on your shoe that's sticking off the back, you're just gonna lock out that knee joint. Like if you were laying down like this and had your rear of your heels of your feet on the ground, and now you don't have this relaxed nature to your leg because it's locked out, when there's just right excess material on the rear of your shoe heel. Right, so we are a clothing company, In the Image Clothing Company, our 5-word company name, but only because we have a human body, and only one of them in this life, and so we got to be careful with it. Let me stand up. Oh, what? The heels of the feet are where the pressure gets put? Yeah, actually. Yeah. So when we're standing, right, it's the same thing. We can pivot on the heels of our feet. Watch this, right? Let's go like this. I'm an athlete. Anyway, we pivot around, right? And so you're not going to be able to do that if your feet don't just start flat on the ground to begin with. The term zero drop in any brand of shoe, because oh, the rotation check, bro. Yeah. All right, don't force it. I mean, that's a piece of advice. Like, don't force things in your body ever, really. Yeah, basically never. Yeah, pretty well never. But anyway, yeah, the 14th of July 2026, In the Image Clothing Company's main side. This video's title, Pivoting on the Heels of the Feet. Here's some people. Okay. So, wow. Awesome. Truly, though, this has been great. I'm serious, because this is stuff that you just are never going to know unless you know. You know, like we say under In the Image Clothing Company, we just don't know what we don't know. We can't be held accountable for what we don't know. Yeah, right. I didn't know most anything that we discuss with, like, the anatomy of the human body and clothing. Personally, as the founder and leader for life of In the Image Clothing Company, until I personally founded it. Like, I didn't know either, is my point. You know, a lot of prayer, trial and error. Yeah, prayer and revelation. Personal experience. The thing is, the distance, too. I mean, that's the big thing, is you're not going to be able to pivot if you don't start at an equal distance apart at the heels as the hips, or the top of the upper leg bones, the femoral head meeting into the hip. Because if you start too wide, now you can't really internally rotate, because the whole leg's just pivoting, and it needs to be in a position where it can. Just straight down, neutral, right? So if you start too wide, you can't pivot internally very well. Well, I mean, you know, seen with context, and I'll give some of it here, but if you start too narrow, then you can't pivot externally very well, even though it looks like I can. It's actually easier to pivot internally the closer into the center line of your body you get. Like, look, I can get my toe all the way to the ground, basically, if I come, like, all the way into the center line of my body with my heel of my foot. But if I come all the way out here, then I can really externally rotate a lot, you know, really far. But in the neutral, then you've got just an even amount of internal versus external rotation, just straight down to the heel of the foot from the top of the upper leg bone meeting into the hips. It's just Earth's vertical gravity pull. But, you know, also, it's different over here, because over here there was this little mound of, like, wood chip things, you know, wood shavings. But anyway, my point is, yeah, the neutral is just where we're going to have even internal versus external rotation, but the neutral is just the same, actually, if your legs are crossed. Watch me pivot here. I mean, it's kind of crazy to be able to see this. Right? There's the fence. I told you I'm an athlete. Look how balanced I am. No, I really am. It's just, I love that. It's just funny. It's because I'm trying not to touch the fence, but I touched it. That's funny. All right. That's why I mention it, is what I'm saying. Funny to me. Because, you know, I'm so prideful sometimes. I mean it. Which, that's fine. It's just that I understand. So here's the thing. Yeah, if you're sitting down, this video's title applies, okay? On the 14th of July, 2026, under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, pivoting on the heels of the feet, you've just got to have an even distance apart from the center line of your body at the feet. Heels, which is the same distance as the top of the upper leg bones coming into the acetabulum of the hip, the femoral head, and the acetabulum of the hip, where all this rotation stems from. Up here at the hip. Okay, wow, yikes, it comes from the hip. The foot is the hip, just like the hand is the shoulder when we straighten the elbow between the two. If the body's just working all together, the only way it actually can, because it's all there. The body's a kinetic chain, okay? A chain of bones, it's all connected. As we were saying earlier in this video, on the 14th of July, 2026, under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, titled, Pivoting on the Feet Heels. Pivoting on the heels of the feet, right? Whatever I title it exactly, it's something just like that. That is what it is. I'm just saying, you know, you straighten the knee between the foot and the hip, and the whole leg does the same thing, okay? It all does the same thing. Because we are pivoting on the heels of the feet. That's how it's allowed to. And so that's what I'm saying, is if you can't pivot on the heel of your foot, but you've got heels on your man-made shoe soles, you know, you're not going to be able to pivot. Through your entire leg. And, well, there's only one way the leg works. You know, we can go so far as to say what I say very often as the founder and leader for life of In The Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong. The truth, there is only one way the human body could ever work. It's gravity that pulls us down into a neutral position if we just don't alter our bodies. So shoe lacing, heels on shoes, you know, shoe lacing done incorrectly is the point. Tongue tabs in shoes, even tags or labeling in shoes. We talked about just removing all tags or labeling from within clothing. They just started doing that tens of years ago from this time, right, 2026, around here back, for a lot of reasons we discuss under In The Image Clothing Company. But, yeah, you know, a lot of these things can alter your feet big time and not allow you to just naturally pivot on your heels. But we've got to remember what I was just saying a minute ago here, give or take, that the foot is the hip. If we alter the hips, we'll alter the feet. So the pant waistline, you know, we talk about where clothing sits very clearly here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side on this universal human design, no matter who you are. Like I said, every body who has one and every one who has a body, it only does what it does. This mechanical machine of the human being. I just want to express my gratitude. I'm not even through the video yet, but this is awesome. Thank you, God. I mean it. Our bodies are designed in the image of Jesus Christ. They only do what they do. So, if we alter the hips, though, it'll travel down and change the feet. We'll have a different level of workings in the feet. Because if we have the feet farther outside the body from just neutrally straight down from the top of the upper leg bones, right? If we put our feet just out too far, the feet pronate or collapse in. If we put the feet in farther than just straight down from the top of the upper leg bones, meeting into the acetabulum of the hip, femoral head, and the acetabulum of the hip, where all this motion stems from, internal versus external rotation. When we have this video's title now, on the 14th of July, 2026, under In The Image Clothing Company's main side, pivoting on the heels of the feet. This all starts from the hip. And so, yeah, if we have our feet too close together, then they will supinate and go on the outsides of the feet. The feet too far apart, pronation. Feet too close together, supination. Feet too far apart, pronation. Feet too close together, supination. But in this neutral, just straight down at the heels of the feet, from the top of the upper leg bones, the femoral head meeting into the acetabulum of the hip, where we just have this neutral position on Earth's vertical gravity pole. Wow, yeah. And we just have this even rotation from internal versus external. Okay. Internal versus external. This is in the neutral, okay? Same with adduction versus abduction. Adduction versus abduction. This all can only possibly happen from the neutral. There's a neutral position to the entire human being in every function it ever could possibly physically have. I mean, it just is what it is. It's a mechanical machine. It's been the exact same for every human being to ever live. And always will be, because we're designed in the image of an unchanging God. In the image of Jesus Christ. Here's your clothing company. Our 5-word company name. In the Image Clothing Company. Yeah, so there you go. But that's a good point, like I was just saying. Supination is when the feet come in. As far as the whole leg working together, that's just what'll happen. And pronation is when the feet go out. It could just never do anything else, man. It's literally just bone that grows by itself. Essentially just an immovable stick until it connects to another one. I mean, I just couldn't have an opinion on it, just as no human being ever could that could ever possibly matter. So it just is what it is, all right? And what this is the 14th of July, 2026, and a beautiful date-marked documentation, as we do under any of the 4 sides of In The Image Clothing Company. In this case, it's under our main side. And this full video's title specific is Pivoting on the Heels of the Feet. So thank you. Check out the other 3 sides of In The Image Clothing Company if you'd like to. In The Image Clothing Company Music, In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, and In The Image Clothing Company Podcast with discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. We're on episode 210 of In The Image Clothing Company Podcast as of today's date, the 14th of July, 2026. I heard something hit the fence back there. I don't know what it was. So thank you. I guess that's all we say. Besides this, when I say don't alter the hips, we just talk about the pants sitting above the hips, but below the lowest ribs, above the hip bone, but below the lowest rib bone. No matter how you carry fat content is why I'm so specific on the bones, because the body is determined by the bones when it comes to its ability to physically function. But yeah, at the natural waist, where we bend side to side at that lumbar spine, the lowest third of the back, that is where the pants sit. But also, at least horizontal, like even level front to back. And if anything, just slightly higher in the front than the rear, just because there's a neutral to the pelvis from posterior versus anterior rotation, which is the horizontal surface of the earth, which is just the same as the bottom of the feet, okay? Dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, posterior rotation, anterior rotation. There's a horizontal surface to the planet Earth. All right, thank you. Thank you.